I was just taught an angle that would work in a market that the old stuff wouldn't work. That's all that it was.
So Eddie, do you think that the stuff that we've been using for the last 10 years will work going forward for the next 10 years?
Jeff, there's no way it'll work. In fact, I don't even know. I'm in a mastermind with you, Don. That's a high-end mastermind. Jeff, you've been in that mastermind before. And when I'm in there, this is a vetted group, right? I mean, they're all like 200 house a year plus guys, and there's 150 of them, and it's expensive to be in it. And nobody, what I kept hearing them talk about was wholesale, right? For the last 5 years, nobody was talking about fix and flip very much. They were wholesaling. Why? Why did they all leave fix and flipping? Because they could find somebody that would pay more for the house unrepaired than they could ever profit if they went through all the brain damage of managing the repairs. Who was that guy?
Your HGTV buyers, right, Eddie?
You got it.
Yeah. Yep. And they were ones that were just getting into it. They didn't understand it. And they were the perfect person for these guys to be wholesaling to.
They were weekend rehabbers, right? Kind of thing. So that was a market cycle. In 40 years in the business, none of us had ever seen this situation before, right? Now, I'm going to say to this audience here today, because I get the impression a lot of them are fairly new, but if you're not new, it's the same story. If you're just going to wholesale a property, in other words, you're not going to physically buy it yourself, the guy that you're wholesaling to, the odds are fairly high. He's not super duper experienced. He might be, but he may not be, right? He may be kind of inexperienced also. And if he goes to a hard money lender and he tries to get a loan today, Jeff, what's he found out?
Well, first he's found out that most of them are out of business. The ones that are still in business, and I represent a couple of them, have got applications out the yin yang wazoo, and they're picking and choosing. And I don't care if they're located in Green Bay, Wisconsin, or Houston, Texas, or anywhere in between, they're picking and choosing for the best deals because they've got everybody lined up asking for money on these things now. But they've changed their rules as well, haven't they, Eddie?
They have lowered the amount of money that they're willing to loan against a house. The loan compared to the value, the loan to value ratio, they've dropped it. Typically, the number I'm hearing is about 20 to 25%. I don't know what you guys are hearing, but close to that, Don?
65, 75% loan to value right now.
I'm seeing, Don, I'm seeing a little more conservative than that. The smart cats that I'm representing, they're at 60%. They want that buyer to have some significant skin in the game. Yeah.
So here's the deal. If you don't understand how to utilize creative financing, then you're sinking all of this cash into this deal or the guy you're wholesaling to, and pretty much that's not every time. Clearly, we won't say anything's absolute, right? But it's more likely to make the deal tip over than in the past.
It's more likely to make the cost of capital too high, and with the uncertainty and other things, it just means it's not a deal anymore.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's a real simple answer to it.
Oh yeah. Oh, there is, Eddie. And you and I talked about that on Saturday. We talked about it on Monday, but you've got to be able to turn the Rubik's Cube around and look at it from a different angle.
So here's a simple answer. Let's just use a nice round number of the property cost and repairs is $100,000. So just, I know that may not be the price range in your market, but that's a nice round number we can work with. If the hard money lender, Jeff, were willing to lend 70% or $70,000, you could have the seller carry a $30,000 second lien. And that's
Now, let me pause you right there, Eddie, because a lot of the people that are listening to this are going like, okay, I'm targeting absentee owners, I'm targeting free and clears, I'm targeting high equity in my mailing. So yeah, these are people that can do this.
and they're willing to do it today, and they weren't willing to do it 60 days ago.
Because here's the other phenomenon that we're seeing, Eddie, and we'll probably get into this a little bit later in the call, is the line of yield-starved investors is getting longer and longer and longer.
Yeah.
And so mom and pop that are selling their house for $100,000, boy, they got a choice. They can take $100,000 and go down to their local credit union or their bank, and they can go make a whopping 1% on that money. But if you could convince them to leave some or a lot of that money into their house for another 6 to 9 months, they'll make 7% on that money.
You know, and Jeff, this is, I want to be careful that I don't like get too nerdy, but you got to remember the seller carrying a second lien is willing to agree to conditions of the loan that a bank or somebody that Jeff Watson represents, you know, they wouldn't agree to that. But that doesn't mean a seller won't agree to it. So now you're talking about not just a loan, but you're talking about a loan that's written on what we refer to and what Don referred to in the opening. It's a soft loan. Who says you have to pay interest? Who says you have to have a monthly payment?
Or who says you have to pay it off when you sell the house?
Exactly.